or at least like Twitch streamers like QTCinderella, or even Twitch streamers like the FaZe Clan boys as major ops or major hurdles against like queer liberation, black liberation, and the overall liberation of all peoples, when there are much more important targets out there that get What is this? Are you going to cover the QT situation because she's getting a lot of hate right now? He already did. No, I didn't. I'm not entirely aware of what has taken place with QTCinderella. I've only seen a couple tweets and shit, but I think as societal conditions worsen, people tend to look at imperfect allies and whatever their take is, no matter how bad it might be, right? People tend to look at imperfect allies as like the main enemy. I'm not one of those people. I never will be one of those people. Maybe because it's my privilege of being a white man, you know, but I'm always going to be broadly understanding of people's background and some of the things that they say that come across as not so great, or especially in a moment of panic, if they feel like the pressure is on and then they end up ballooning into a much larger issue. White man and rich, yeah. I mean, you already know I'm the enemy. I'm an LGBTQ foe, as I openly declare all the time. Yeah, I think, bro, are you blaming society for Cutie's words? Well, one, I don't even know what she said. Well, I know Cutie. I've said this before, but sometimes otherwise good people can come across very poorly. And I think the same level of charity and grace that we would offer people that we know personally, we often don't offer to people behind a camera. And the reality of the matter is the immediate pushback also causes people who are not ready for any sort of pushback whatsoever and treat it as hostile, will cause them to double down and make mistakes or come across really poorly. But ultimately, I usually try to look at everything that a person is doing. You know, it's objectively very difficult for me to look at Twitch streamers, or at least like Twitch streamers like QTCinderella, or even Twitch streamers like the FaZe Clan boys as major ops or major hurdles against like queer liberation, black liberation, and the overall liberation of all peoples, when there are much more important targets out there that get no scrutiny whatsoever because they're not in the ally adjacent territory. And it's also doubly silly when I consider my own position, which is someone whose ops are in the American government, you know, someone who's trying to do the right thing every day, combating this administration's policies. It comes across as like very narrow in its focus. I don't think every single person is a secret fascist, and I also don't think that it's a healthy attitude to hold. I do, however, think that it's difficult to get people on board with stuff, especially when the easiest type of jokes that you can do is often targeting those who are vulnerable and marginalized. And a lot of people lean into that. So I perhaps give even more grace to those who don't always lean into that when they could easily do that with not only no repercussions whatsoever, but with promotion associated with it. Because in this day and age, I feel like if you're going to be, you know, anti-queer, anti-immigrant, racist, white supremacist, there is a avenue for that sort of behavior. There's quite literally an avenue for that. Like, you can gain more prominence if you become openly reactionary. This isn't even about Cutie, by the way. I don't know. It's just, it's very unproductive to grift to the left, quote unquote, grift to the left. Watch Cutie's VOD if you want an in-depth apology. She apologized for it. Good. Remember, this doesn't mean that QTCinderella nor anyone is actually infallible or above accountability or they're perfect. This is a reflection of the human condition, that we are all imperfect, that we all make mistakes. And sometimes, or all the time, we don't want to acknowledge that we made mistakes. Sometimes we can't see it because we're blinded by our own privilege. And in other instances, even if we kind of see it, it takes a while to get on board, especially if the broader attitude in the space is these wokes. They're unbearable. This is something that I warned about quite a bit. Like people literally look at us and my community, in spite of my attempts to constantly try to dial back, endlessly going after everyone over perceived slights or major slights that are valid, but making a much larger ordeal out of it. You're missing the point. Them already, if they don't like us, it's not our job to get them to like us. What are you talking about? No, you're wrong. Your take is her take, Lamau. They about to fry your ass. Oh, McG, I hate this drama shit. No, that has always been my job. No, that's you've completely missed the point as a 19-month subscriber if you think that that's not my job. Why do you think I spent so much time talking about Zohran Mamdani, constantly having to navigate between talking about the Islamophobic attacks that he's receiving and then refusing to actually address it? Because if he were to constantly talk about that, then he would come across as a spoiler. Sometimes you have to eat it. I do it every day. I'm just sick of these people and how we have to be nice. How about we say them? Well, the problem is, I understand that. The problem is if you say that, then we can't win them over. And if you want to make changes, you got to win them over, especially those in the margins. I would present the impact that even QTCinderella has had in a very positive manner with the likes of Jason the Ween, someone that you guys actually enjoy. Jason the Ween has an incredibly tolerant community, especially in comparison to the vibes and the overall attitudes that many have in that demographic. We were just talking about the alt-right. We were just talking about the far-right manosphere pipeline just a second ago. They'll always win if we keep up this mentality. That's the unfortunate reality. They don't have these sorts of hangups. They don't need to have these sorts of hangups because there is no protection that is required for any of the marginalized people. So it's a much easier ground for them to stand on, to constantly refill their numbers, to constantly bring on more people onto their side. Whereas those of us who are on the left have a much more difficult undertaking. Privilege ass take, I love you, but be for real. It's also entirely dependent on the severity of the gripe. Like, I'm not in here being like, yeah, immediately have someone like hang out with someone who is being a Nazi or some shit. Don't be ridiculous. Or hang out with someone who's like dropping the T slur or talking about how trans people are disgusting or gross or some shit like that. That's not my point at all. But I think a lot of you immediately take it to that level, and it's understandable because that is what you have experienced in your life. As a black person, I'm tired of trying to convince Freeze to be right. I'm more about action now. Like, we need the Black Panthers back. I don't disagree with you on that. It's actually, I should have established the boundaries. Now, obviously, they can change, but it's kind of like how we do the moderation in this community, right? Where there are certain things that go beyond a minor slight. There are certain things that go beyond minor slights.